Ratata, ratatatata. That's my audio test. Welcome back to the channel. Today, Thoughts on Thursday number 2, we are going to talk about quality. This is the second episode and we are improving every day. So I watched back the first episode and also while I was editing it, I felt like it was a little boring. It was a little lengthy, but in this episode I'm going to try to avoid that but make it a little bit more structured. Now, I still haven't scripted it. It's still just going to be a mic, some lights, and a camera, and me, and then talking to a camera about random bullcrap that I think about. But we're going to structure it a little bit more. We're going to divide this video into segments. The first one being my train of thought and sort of how I got to this subject. Then we will dive into the subject and sort of like the philosophical question that comes with it. Then my answer / opinion about that question, and then we'll do a little outro, and then we are done. Then we have the whole video. Alright, so the first segment, my train of thought on getting onto this subject. Well, it's actually a funny anecdote because recently, or actually a couple months back, my girlfriend bought me a new coffee machine. There we go, coffee machines again. It was an espresso machine. Now, I'm not a coffee expert, but an espresso machine was a pretty big upgrade from the coffee machine I had. It's more expensive coffee, so it tastes better, I guess. So I got that machine, and I didn't really read into coffee machines. I just knew that an espresso was the highest quality you can get for convenient coffee. You know, I don't want to be grinding my own coffee and pouring hot water in a Chemex. You know, if you do that, it's, you know, be my guest. I don't like coffee that much. You know, I want it to be convenient, and these just come in little cups that you put in and just pour an espresso or pour a bigger cup of coffee, and that's just fine by me. So when I got this machine, I didn't really know how an espresso worked and how that was, but I did know it had sort of like this luxurious kind of feel to the brand. I unboxed the thing and it came with a little booklet. You have an app where you can use to order coffee, and every coffee has like a 300-word description on how spicy it is and how sour it is and everything. And it really triggered me. Like, it really made me interested in it. You know, it's brilliant marketing because the machines themselves aren't necessarily too expensive. They really get you with the coffee. So they want you to feel like some kind of coffee connoisseur. So you really want to keep buying their coffee. So I became that little pretentious ass that was just like, no, you can really taste the bitter sour in this coffee, and it's a really spicy espresso. I became that guy. So a good friend of mine, Peter, he also has an espresso machine, but he never buys the Nespresso cups because he's like, well, that's overpriced shit. You know, it's like I can just buy off-brand cups that taste perfectly the same, and I drink quite a lot of coffee every day, is what he said, and so do I. So it's like, why are you wasting your money on this Nespresso bullshit when you can just buy normal cups? And so we sort of got into a discussion about it that I was like, no, there is a quality difference, and he was like, well, I think that's pretty overrated. Eventually, we obviously did a blind taste test because that is how you solve these kind of issues. So we did that. We did a blind taste test, and what happened was I got 2 cups of coffee, and one of them obviously was Nespresso and the other one was just this off-brand, not necessarily super cheap, but at least cheaper than espresso. And I drank it, and guess what? I didn't taste difference. So that made me think, and that made me think a lot about quality. And later on in that same period, I don't really know when this was, another friend of mine came over. Her name is Liz. And we were talking about clothing and about like how you have branded clothes. And we came to the conclusion we're both not really the type of person to walk around with like, I don't know, $200 t-shirts or whatever. Like, I'm not, my girlfriend's not, and Liz, our friend, is also not. So we were having a discussion, really agreeing with each other how dumb it is to spend so much money. And then eventually I made the point like, well, the reason I don't buy branded clothes, or at least not like expensive brand clothes like Gucci or Versace, or we were talking specifically about Baller. I don't know if you have that brand in the US also, or another place in the world, but I believe it's a Dutch brand, like a soccer thing, whatever. It's really expensive. And the point I made was like, well, I think that after you reach a certain price point in a t-shirt or pants or shoes or whatever, but in this case a t-shirt, you can't really improve on the quality anymore. Like, I understand that there's a difference between like a $3 t-shirt and maybe a $30 t-shirt. Maybe it's 100% cotton, so it's softer and it lasts longer. Maybe the way they sew it is a little bit more tight. It may be like a bit of a thicker fabric, so it's a little bit more sturdy. I understand that, but $300 for a t-shirt or $200 for a t-shirt or anything above $50 for a t-shirt is just ridiculous. So this sparked the idea in my head about quality, and that brings us to the second segment of the video, and that is the philosophical question that comes with this. So as I was thinking about the coffee and the shirts and some other things that came into my head, I started wondering, okay, it's quite easy for me to say like, okay, well, all these expensive shirts, I can't pay for them. I don't want to be paying for them, so I'll just say that they're nonsense. But then I started thinking about it and I was like, well, I do spend a lot of money on, for example, camera gear. And some people might be like, well, why did you buy, in my case, an EOS R, which is a, in my opinion, pretty expensive full frame camera. Someone might be like, well, why didn't you just get a cheaper camera? Like, I can't see the difference. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I just don't know enough about clothing to be judging people for buying really expensive clothes. Like, I don't know how you can improve quality on a t-shirt. And then I started thinking about it and it just didn't feel right. I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to be open-minded and I'm trying not to put everyone that wears expensive clothing as like a superficial person that just buys stuff because it has a nice little brand on it, kind of like I was when I bought an espresso coffee. And I'm pretty sure that there's baristas out there that know exactly, they would immediately be able to taste the difference between an espresso cup and an off-brand cup, but I wasn't. And then I started to think about what is quality? And more importantly, is there a product? Is there a thing that we buy in this consumerist, advertised-filled world that is purely judged on its quality? Because I don't think there is. And obviously it's easy to say about clothes, you know, saying that these people are superficial and you can't improve quality on clothes. That's like an easy one, because I personally do think that after a certain price point, you can't improve quality on clothes. But then I start to think like, okay, well, does that make me better than those people? Obviously not, you're never better than someone else, but does that make me less superficial than people that are fully blown up in that and only focus on that? Maybe, but all the things I buy, do I really buy them for the quality? Because this camera, sure, maybe 80, maybe 90% of me wanted this camera because of its quality. But there's always that little 10% or maybe more in my brain that was like, yeah, but it's Canon. You've had a Canon camera before. You're familiar with the brand. When you were a little kid, your dad would have a Canon camera, and then my first camera I ever bought was a Canon, so, you know, let's just go with Canon and not the Sony. And that little part sort of proves that I didn't buy this camera 100% fully for its quality. There's still some branding going on. There's still some love for a certain brand, or still some, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I don't think you can buy anything purely based on quality. It doesn't go for my camera. The light I have here, I don't even know what brand this light is. Did I buy it 100% for the quality? No, I didn't really even know what quality it was. It was just because a good friend of mine named Tim, he sent me a link saying like, hey, I just bought this light and it's really awesome. So if you're looking for a light for the YouTube channel you're trying to start, you should get this one. And guess what I did? I bought it. Because I don't know shit about lighting, so I just bought it because a friend told me. So in this case, it's not necessarily their brand that convinced me, but it's sort of like an ambassador of their brand in the form of my friend Tim. So again, I didn't buy this 100% based on quality. And then I was like, wow, that made me a little bit sad, a little bit depressed, a little bit just felt a little bummed out, because like, well, it's so easy to call other people superficial, and it's so easy to just tell people that wear branded clothes that they're dumb and superficial, and you know, I don't do that. You know, I buy quality camera, I buy a quality light. Look at me, I'm someone that knows stuff, and I'm someone that reads into specifications. Well, think again, because even though you might not be as superficial as someone that only buys Gucci shit, I don't know if that's superficial or not, I just kind of feel like it is, but even though you're not that person, you're still very much impressionable by brands, by things around you, you'll always have some knowledge already in your brain, some like pre-programmed thing. May it be because a friend told you to buy something or because a brand just has amazing advertising. There's always something that makes you a little bit biased whenever you're buying something. And now that I think about it, we just did section 2 and 3 in one go, because that's sort of like my answer, opinion, and the philosophical question. So that became sort of one thing. That means that it's time for the outro. Thank you so much for watching. Again, leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you think it needs some work. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and optionally that bell button, and I will see you next Tuesday. Peace.